What's up, guys? It is Friday, January 25th. This is David Powers, and thought I would do something different today, take some questions, and just try to expand, give the best answer I can. I received so many questions from you guys. I really do try to get back to all of you. Sometimes I'm a little bit late, but I got a lot going on. I'm trying to run multiple things, multiple businesses. So sometimes I just don't see them. But with that said, I'm going to take some of your questions now. All right. So I don't want to call anyone out because I don't know if that'd be offensive. So I'm just going to read some things and then I'll answer them as I see them. So one person writes, are we going to get completely better? By the way, that's the question I receive the most. And the answer is complicated. It's really different for everyone. Depends on how long you've been on the drug. Depends what your pre-existing condition was. Depends on how well you came off the drug. Meaning, was it a very, very rough ride? Did you isolate yourself? Did you develop, severe depression or anxiety or even trauma? And then what you did after the drug. So say you come off the benzo but you still sit in your house, maybe you get on disability or you live with someone, you don't really go to therapy, you isolate yourself and you remain stuck in this bubble that feels a lot like what it did when you were coming off the drug. Some of that could be post-withdrawal syndrome. Some of that could be, like I said, new emerging stuff that happened during that long period of withdrawal. That long period of withdrawal, when you're sitting there just weaning for months, let's say you wean for 10 months, it's just hell the whole time. 10 months is hell. And, that's how you get PTSD, essentially. When you're in so much trauma, and there's no way out, and you just have it day after day, it wears on you. Same with depression, same with anxiety, same with agoraphobia. And when we get off the drug and some of us think, well, now I'm better, right? Wrong. You're just off the drug. You still have to heal. Your brain's going to take time to heal. It's just, unfortunately, the drug didn't cure what you began taking it for. It just masked it. It's insulin to a diabetic. You get off, you still have a problem with your insulin. However, sort of like diabetes, there's a type of diabetes that if you're grossly overweight, by losing a lot of weight and changing your diet to a really restricted, more closely resembling a vegan diet, I guess you could say, you can actually reverse diabetes. So I have a very similar thing I teach with benzo recovery, which is like that type of diabetes, that if you lose weight, you diet, exercise, monitor your sugar, that you can get by without insulin. And it's the same for us with anxiety and depression and trauma coming off benzo. You just monitor it, you do the hard work, you stay active. In a lot of ways, it does resemble what it takes to get healthy for diabetes, because you really do need to change your diet. You really do need an entire lifestyle change. And that's in general for treating depression, anxiety. It's not just, oh, damn, I came off this drug. Now I got to do this tedious thing. This guy's telling me I got to lose weight and exercise and change my freaking diet. And so I got to put all this extra effort into sleep. Before I would just sleep. Now I got to have a routine. I got to have a pattern. I got to take a bath or a shower an hour or two before, do some light reading, maybe some stretching. I'm drinking chamomile tea. I got to turn off my phone an hour or two before bed or turn off the TV. Might even come down to the kind of lighting you have. 5600K bulbs. And lighting will more closely resemble daylight. Keeps you awake longer. That's why phones now come with that little feature that after a certain period at night, it's called sleep mode, I think, and your screen goes warm. Get away from that blue tone that signals your brain that it's daylight and it's time to wake up and be active. I know I'm giving long-winded explanations, but I think for this kind of stuff, I think that's what we want. We don't want me up here just going, sure, you'll get better. Next question. So the answer is, of course, to reiterate, how long you've been on the drug, how well you came off the drug, what sort of treatment you're doing for yourself. Are you doing the hard work? And by hard work, if you've talked to me before, if you've read my book, if you've kept up with the videos, you know that I push exercise a lot, and I push desensitization a lot. Systematic desensitization, aka exposure therapy. And that means getting out of your house and getting uncomfortable every day, especially after you come off the drug, because I don't push that as hard when you're on the drug, because it's just so freaking hard to do anything. But I do say the worst thing you could do is lay in bed. And hang out in the lawn and garden section. Because to most people, that's nothing. That's a peaceful day. But to someone that came off benzos, that could be a terrifying day. It's like, I gotta go to Walmart? No, there's people. Yikes. And as soon as you walk into the lawn and garden section, you get those sort of that social anxiety flares up, and you get really panicky. Your heart rate starts going up. Start feeling dizzy. Oh God, I hated it. Every time I would go to anywhere in public, I just would get that dizzy feeling. I'd get it driving before I even got there. But you do this every day, and what happens, your brain adapts, and it stops throwing up all those fight or flight signals. And that's essentially what exposure therapy is. But exposure therapy, you have to do it right. People think, if you have this phobia of snakes, just hand someone a snake. If you throw them in a box of snakes and they don't get bit, and you just leave them there for a week, when they come out, they're no longer afraid of snakes. Well, no, you could traumatize them that way. There's a slow, safe integration with the right mindset. And that's what my book tries to offer, which is different than someone just saying, oh, just go Wikipedia exposure therapy and, go do it yourself. Save yourself $10. So yes, the short answer is yes. All of you are going to get better, but you're going to have to work hard. And the harder you work, the better you'll get. And, all of our situations are different. I've talked to people that were on the drug for just a couple months, and they're having the hardest time coming off of it. I mean, you wouldn't believe it. They're having all these side effects, and it's like, wow, 2 months? Not even a high dose. Then you talk to people. I've spoken to people. This is, of course, more rare, but they were on it for years, and they came off it rather quickly and almost with barely any remaining side effects. They did really well. Of course, the correlation with these two people is one usually lies in bed, surrenders, almost as if they were lost in the woods. They just give up. And the other person is usually in a situation where they can't. There's just too many people relying on them. They have to get up every day, drive to work. They're freaking out every day, but still they put themselves in the fire and they just get through it. And so for them, the brain is still struggling to adapt the whole time, and they're still going through withdrawals. But at the same time, it never really gets out of control to the point of developing a new disorder. All right, let's find another question here. Someone asked here, is my book on audio, full audio? Not yet. I'm working on that, guys. What I'm probably going to do is just release it in like chapters. I'll probably release chapter 3 and 4 next. And then I just want to put it all together in a big audio format and release it on different platforms. I was offering coaching. I'm still offering coaching, limited coaching, as when we talk on the phone a couple times a week or whatever, or emails, things like that. And for these people, I just offer the book for free. Like you can have it. All right, well, here's another interesting question. What about using legal cannabis for the weaning process? I like that they said legal cannabis. That is preferable. But look, who's going to fault anyone if they obtain illegal cannabis and they said, oh my God, this helped me get through this and, not get much worse or become suicidal or something? Who's going to fault them? But not me. Yeah, look, cannabis can be super helpful for so many things. I mean, science and medical science in particular are now catching up to a lot of the really positives, positive health benefits that marijuana can offer us. But the thing is, marijuana can also make us very paranoid. It can increase anxiety. It can, in certain mind states, even provoke a little bit of psychosis and a psychotic state. People who may have latent schizophrenia, marijuana can kind of bring that on early. and enhance that disorder. So that said, I think if you're going to try it, you need to try it very, very slowly. I would not, run out and grab an edible or something like that, or smoke a whole joint. Whatever you do it really, really, ease your way into that experience and see what happens. It couldn't hurt. I guess the worst thing you can do is you smoke too much, you might have a panic attack. But then again, I've been working with a lot of people and talking to a lot of people now for a few years on social media doing this, and I've heard so many stories and read so much stuff. And I have read a lot of people saying they smoked weed just a little bit at night or here and there to help them get through the day or help them to sleep. And that's awesome. I've read cases of other people that said they barely smoked and they went into full-blown panic attacks. So if it helps, cool. The only other thing I would say about that is there's different strands, sativa and indica, and different depending on your physical constitution, your mental constitution. You might be a guy who can smoke sativa and you feel great, but then you hit the indica and you have a panic attack, or vice versa. So keep that in mind too. If you try one and it just does not have the effect, the other one might be the miracle one for you. And by the way, I'm trying not to breathe heavy into this mic because I have getting over a sinus infection, and I'm just still heady, but I wanted to do something. One guy, this isn't a question, but it's a statement. Benzodiazepines also calcifies the pineal gland by design. I have no evidence to back that up. There's 5 likes on that, so maybe people know something I don't. If you do, maybe post something. I think what the pineal does, I don't know if everyone here commenting and liking this even understands the gland, and I don't think we're not medical doctors, but here's one. Are you lying to us to make us stop from killing ourselves? That's terrifying right there. I wouldn't lie to you. No. I'm someone who went through it. I was on almost 40 milligrams in the end, something like that. And I was mixing it with alcohol at times. It wasn't great. I wasn't meaning to. I just was dumb and desperate, and I would drink on some of that stuff, and then I was going through pain, and I was on pain pills at a point. Came off it. It took 2 years to taper off of that nightmare, and there was almost a year there where I couldn't drive my car. I was so much agoraphobia, and that was one of the worst case scenarios. I mean, it looked completely hopeless for me. I never thought I was going to get better. I didn't think I was going to finish college. I thought everything, I thought my art career, I thought my relationships and everything was just going to fall apart, and I was just going to end up, disabled and living on the street or something. It was terrifying. But you get better. So here's a great question from someone in the Benzo group, the Benzo community, because there really is a community here. This is what I love about just humanity, that there is a community in the Benzo, with Benzo people, people going through withdrawal. And, there's people that have gone through it like me that are out there sort of, what would you say, giving direction, giving inspiration, trying to keep people from going off the deep end and reminding them that they will get through this, and then giving them tools and things and information that might help them. One person writes, David, how do you cope with the retreat of family and friends? They are making this so much more difficult. That's a huge, huge topic right there. I'm going to try to reduce this down quickly here, but your support group is super critical to your success in anything from your career, your job, your career, your school, your dreams, your fighting cancer, fighting physical sicknesses, fighting mental health issues, coming off drugs, coming off alcohol. You need a support group. It takes the pressure off you. It catches you when you fall. It gives you inspiration. And, your family, your closest family, your kids, your wife, your husband, your parents, your brothers and sisters, these people should be your closest, most strongest cheerleaders. But unfortunately what happens is, like with alcohol addiction, people don't see it. They can't see the damage. All they see are the symptoms of it. And for them, it can look very, it looks almost like you're playing it up, like you're just trying to get attention, or you just don't want to work, or, damn it, it's all in your head. And then, of course, that just makes us angry and it hurts us. And then we lash out at them and they further don't understand. And then the schism starts to happen and it gets wider and wider. And it creates a wedge between us. And then you got a little bit of resentment starts to build in because coming off the drug is a long process typically, a year or two of healing and all this stuff. And it's really important that we get our loved ones on board some way or another. We need to get them on board. Show them a video, show them a book, explain to them what's going on, show them the literature, show them the research. Get on Google Scholar and just look at benzo withdrawal. There's so many studies done. Ashton Manual, look at Heather Ashton and her work. You can show people this. Say, look, this is a real phenomenon. People take years coming off. The brain takes years to heal. It's one of the most severe drug withdrawals of all time. You can come off alcohol. It's not alcohol. You can come off almost any other drug other than alcohol, and you can live. This one can kill you. You have severe, seizures and die from this. It is a horrible drug. It literally is the worst drug withdrawal on the planet. I would challenge anyone to find another drug that's worse. I had a friend say, well, pills and heroin. I said, you can sweat out heroin in 2 weeks. You will not die. If I lock you in a room and just give you food and water and don't let you get access to heroin in 2 weeks, you'll live. You'll pull through it. You take someone on a high dose of benzos and you lock them in a room and do the same experiment, they are likely to die. They're likely to have severe seizures and God knows. So how do we get our family on board? We try to, two things I push. Educate them, of course, like I just said. Second is try to be conscious as much as you can of yourself, because when we're not at our best, we're not at our best, right? When you're sick, we're whiny, we're needy, we're moody, we're anxious, we're freaking out constantly, and we gotta be a fucking nightmare to deal with, right? Just a nightmare for our family, just so needy, can't work, can't do anything, and they're watching all this from the outside, and we look fine. There's no blood, there's no cast, And it's the same thing with like alcohol addiction, where people look at people when they, someone they love, and at first they go, alcoholism is a disease. It's like cancer. I need to have compassion that my family member, my friend, is going through a disease right now. But instead, that always turns to, get it together, walk it off. We start thinking, you don't have to be a piece of crap. It's like we blame the person. Well, which one is it? Is it a disease or is it the person? They need to walk it off, or is it a disease? Same with benzos. People are not faking it. But my point again is just try to be conscious of the fact that you're going through this, and that you're not at your best, and that it's creating a hell of a burden on your family, and just try to be cooler with them, just try to explain that to them. I would have these outbursts of anxiety, and it's never really anger. It's just, you get a lot of anger from, 10 months in, and you're just like, you're angry at the world for, why am I going through this? Why I feel tricked, this is bullshit. But mostly the anger is more coming from reactionary anxiety. It's just a state of you're panicky, and someone says something or drops a cup and you're, what is that? Stop making a noise. You're on edge. You don't mean to be. And after a while, it just becomes normal. You don't even realize you're on edge anymore, because you just, it's been 5 months or so, and you're just in this state of being now, of constant anxious anxiety. Depression. And it just becomes a normal state. It's like that saying, about boiling someone alive. Like if you put someone in a pot and you slowly turn up the temperature until boiling, you'd be surprised at how hot that water can get before that person really has to jump out of the pot, right? So while we might think, I'm not being that unruly, likely we are. So take note of it, try to do the best you can, and just tell your family what you're going through, and try to always, if you can keep coming back to love, compassion, and that be your base to approach them and pull them in, you're gonna have better results. Now, if you can't accomplish that, or for whatever reason you just don't have family, don't have a support group like that around you, I urge you, lean on your friends. Find your best friend. Lean on them. Same thing applies. Now you might be going, well, look at my age or this or that situation. I don't even really have friends like that. I can do that too. I don't have anyone close enough for me, Then this is where you're going to turn to online benzo groups, support groups, And there are many out there. Benzo Buddies is one of them. And yeah, find your support group. Find them. Find a friend. Find a coach. Find someone. Read some books, and just get yourself knowledgeable, and get some people that are going through that's been through this that you can talk to. And my only warning is that don't cling too much to the fear and the people that are out there, the fear mongers, because there are people that didn't heal, and there's people that are just, you've seen them. They're wrapped up in this fearful state that they're never going to get better, and everyone around them, they just join into this, and it becomes like a panic, like a collective panic. And you can join that. And I'm asking, don't join that collective panic. People do get better, and panicking doesn't help. We have to focus on we always have to focus on the positive. I mean, if ever in a life there was a situation where positive thinking led to better outcomes, it's this one. It's almost, you have to be delusional. You just have to go, I'm going to get better. And then I'm going to make lists of things I'm going to do when I get better. That's how certain I am. Here's where I'm going to vacation. This is what I'm going to do. Oh man, my husband or my wife, she stood by me through all this. Oh my God, I am going to buy her something so cool. I'm taking her on a vacation. You start planning for a life that's waiting for you, instead of, reading all these horrible situations from others and just having yourself in the grave already. Excuse me. One person writes, I drink a little alcohol in the evening to help me sleep. Is this okay? Ideally, no. And here's why. Alcohol is actually a stimulant and interrupts our sleep. While initially it may help you fall asleep, you always wake up around 3 or 4 hours later. So you never really get this kind of sleep you need, And on top of that, alcohol activates the parts of the brain that are really closely associated with benzo. So it's kind of like cheating. It's like you're weaning, tapering off this drug. You're coming down lower and lower, going through all this. And every time you drink, it's almost like you bump up a little bit of that benzo. You activate all those parts of the brain, very similar. So why do it? It's just dragging out, the inevitable. That said, again, everybody's different. Everybody's different. And also you need a break. So maybe there are some of you that can have like a little bit of wine before bed, and it helps you and you don't wake up and it doesn't seem to affect your taper. And look, if that works, there's no set rules completely. Do that. Go with what works. That's my only rule. Go with what works. There are other people that will do that and they'll drink a lot. And then and to the point where they could actually maybe even come off the benzo, and then they're stuck with like an alcohol problem, and they're still having all this what would seem like prolapse withdrawal syndrome. And also they're inhibiting their brain from healing completely. Your brain doesn't just heal from the chemical changes, these parts of the synapses that have evolved to have more openings to allow more of the chemical come in. Then you take the chemical away, you're left with all these openings, the brain's throbbing, wanting this drug that there's no longer enough, to feed its demand. That's what we're going through. And the brain has to heal those kind of openings, those doors that allow in that chemical. And it's going to take time. And could take years, could take months. It all depends. But how we treat our healing, in general, our recovery, like I said, exercise, diet, sleeping right, healthy mind states, all these things absolutely help nurture this and aid this healing. And that's why it's so important to do all that stuff. Here's one. It's kind of a question. It's more of a sarcastic comment to me, but it says, 50 seconds in, talking about one of my videos, you think it's possible to exercise during benzo withdrawal? Next. Sorry, I'm in hell. Well, look, I just said, no, you're not always going to be able to exercise. There's a period where it's super just debilitating. Absolutely, I understand that. It was for me as well. I'm saying when you can, you should. And I'm also saying, yes, you can still get out of bed. It's not that debilitating all the time that I can't walk. You know what I mean? You can get up. You can walk out of your house. You choose not to because you're just feeling like crap and you don't want to, and everything gives you anxiety, and when you stand up, you get dizzy. But the problem about that is that stuff gets worse if you don't do it. So you're going to have to put yourself in an uncomfortable state for a little bit to get better. That's the uncomfortable, inconvenient fact. So if it means going outside and gardening for an hour every day, do it. If it means walking your dog around the block, if it means walking to your mailbox and back a few times a day, whatever it is, find something to get you out of your shell and do it daily. I'm telling you, the more you do it, the better you will feel. Although there will be a period where it doesn't feel very good at first and it sucks and you're thinking, what the hell am I doing? It's making me feel worse. But you'll be surprised. Give it a couple weeks. Just give it a couple weeks, doing 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day, getting out there outside your house. This is specifically important for people who are isolating themselves, staying inside for days at a time, barely seeing sunlight, barely social, barely leaving the house. You know, you got to get out. You got to do something. And then you build off that. So when I started, my problem with exercise was my heart. I had so much fear that I was going to have a heart attack, because I'd get chest flutters and weird things and chest pains. And, I always had chest pains. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to have a heart attack before I get the hell off this thing. It's going to kill me. I know it. And I went to the hospital. I had heart, readings done and things like that. And they'd come back and say, no, you're fine. You're fine. And it was like I was fighting this hypochondriasis condition that was emerging. It was just so panicky and freaking out at all times about any damn body sensation. I've had a pain in my toe and I think it's diabetes. A little blurriness in my eye. Oh my God, it's affecting the arteries, or, it's just the way your mind works. It's crazy. But you do what you can, and what I started doing was this really light stuff, and I built up confidence. And I'd be able to do a little bit more of an exercise and notice, hey, that didn't hurt me. I didn't die. I didn't have a heart attack. And then I noticed the fluttering starting to decrease with more cardio and more stuff I was able to do. I'm talking cardio, like light walks, picking up light dumbbells, doing some curls, doing yard work. You'd be surprised what just raking the yard, how much energy that takes. And then I would go for walks. I'd go to the stop sign, walk around the block. I just kept putting myself in uncomfortable situations and staying active, keep moving. Uncomfortability and keep moving. It sounds like the two worst things you want to do when you're going through this, but boy, they help. I'm going to take one more question. All right, so last question is, should I take another drug while coming off this drug? Or is there anything that I can take that will help me while coming off this drug? My doctor wants to put me on an SSRI. All right, well, here's the thing. That's a tough question to answer. I'm just going to give it to you directly. Follow your doctor's advice. All right, and I say that not just to protect myself legally, but to protect you as well, because I'm not your physician. I don't know your case and all the intricacies. If your doctor thinks that you need to be on it, he or she may very well be right. On the other hand, find out if your doctor understands about benzo withdrawal and the problems and the epidemic that's been emerging and obviously observable in the literature right now about the dangers of benzo and benzo withdrawal and prolapse withdrawal syndrome and the dangers of the symptoms, and what about going too fast, and how tapering too fast can really hurt someone. Find out if your doctor's on board with that. Because if not, you might run into some more problems. And he or she really needs to be knowledgeable about really what you're going through. Otherwise, what could happen, what often happens, is they treat it like you're a little bit crazy. It's just mostly pre-existing anxiety, and it's not the drug. So let's just take you off the drug in 2 weeks, even though you've been on it maybe 6 years. And we're going to put you on an SSRI, which really doesn't even start working, ideally, before 4 weeks. I mean, if you think it does, it's usually, a placebo effect. So it takes anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks to 8 weeks for that drug to start working. And even then, it's not going to stop withdrawal syndrome and withdrawal symptoms. It doesn't work that way. It's going to help manage additional anxiety and pre-existing anxiety and depression, and it could help. It really could. Problem with that is you come off the benzo and now you're on an SSRI. You've switched one drug for the other. And SSRIs can work for a long time, and then they can stop working. And you could find yourself in a game where your doctor's switching up one SSRI for another. Meanwhile, you're gaining weight, you got new side effects, you're altering chemicals in your brain. The best situation is, in my opinion, is to be drug-free and holistic, to approach everything you're doing with behavioral modification and cognitive behavioral techniques lifestyle changes, dietary changes, sleep, relationships, cognitive therapy, exposure therapy. These are the type of things that I think ideally are the most safe and just the best way to go about it. Now, not everyone can do that. Some people really suffer with severe chemical problems, and these people may need an SSRI, especially if you're in a place of suicidal ideation. If you're contemplating suicide, you should really consider getting on an SSRI. So, and the other part of that answer, the other part of the question is, no, there's really nothing you can take that's going to help you coming off benzo. I wish there was. Like, when you're coming off opiates, they got Suboxone, different things that you can take that reduces the symptoms a great deal. There's really not anything like that for benzos. It's just a long, hellish ride. Some people lean on alcohol a little bit. Some people lean on marijuana. Some people, I've heard Benadryl. I've heard gabapentin. I think they're working on something that's looking promising. I can't think of the name of it now, but it's something they're working on, a new chemical that may be available soon. Wouldn't that be great? So, but for people going through it now, that doesn't help you. We want it quick, no matter what we want. Food, everything. Mental health, food, we want it quick. Give me a pill. Let me get back to work. Unhappy about my job, my marriage, my life, my personality, myself. Go back to work. Give me a pill. Going through depression. Give me a pill. Anxiety, pill. And like I said, I'm not here to tear down pills. I think psychiatry definitely has a place in mental health, for sure. I'm very skeptical about the frequency of these prescriptions, the length of these prescriptions, the fact that there's almost never any conjunct therapy. Just never, here's some Xanax while you go through this difficult time, and let's get you aligned with some therapy and things, and we're gonna taper you off the Xanax in a couple months and let all the work you're doing in your life sort of take over. It's never that, almost never that, because we're short on mental health, we're short on money, because psychiatry rules the land in mental health, because people want it quick. There's a lot of factors here. And I think part of the change in all of this is going to have to come from the people too. And I'm seeing that more and more people are becoming knowledgeable about even the difference between psychiatry and psychology. 10 years ago, I'd asked that question, what's the difference between psychiatry and psychology? And almost no one knew the difference. They used the two terms interchangeably. But yet psychology gives counseling. They don't use meds. And a psychiatrist uses meds and rarely does counseling. At least they shouldn't do counseling. They don't know enough about counseling. So that said, hopefully some of the things I've said has helped a little bit, or I don't know, eased your mind, given you some information. If you have any questions, please comment on this video. I'm getting comments all over in my other videos, but specifically leave them here in this video. And if this is something you want me to do again, I'll take those comments when I have enough of them, and I'll make another video. All right, guys, take care. Be safe. Keep your head up. And remember, you'll get through it. We all get through it.